2016. It's Thursday morning in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the state's capital and second most populous city.
Compared to New Orleans, it's much more straight-laced and conservative.
It's more of a settling down community, a great place to raise a family.
There are a lot of hard-working 9-to-5 kind of people.
But as medical transport driver Leslie Parms is on his way to work that morning, something stops him in his tracks.
On my way in to the office, I saw a little girl standing by the street holding a pillow.
She seemed distressed, confused, and traumatized.
Concerned, Leslie gets out of his van to check on the little girl.
She was just kind of discombobulated.
Somebody with you?
When she doesn't respond, he decides to call 911.
I didn't feel comfortable leaving such a small young child there by themselves.
I don't see nobody.
With dispatch on the line, Leslie continues to ask the little girl questions.
Where was her mom? Where's her dad? Where does she live?
Do you know where your mommy's car is?
At that point, she points to a car parked across the parking lot from where she's standing.
Can we go there? All right, we're gonna take her to the car.
At the car, Leslie gives the dispatcher the plate number.
Yeah, it's a Louisiana tag, B8-99380.
They identify the car as belonging to Nintel, Washington.
But there's no sight of her anywhere.
You stay right here.
Then, as Leslie steps closer, he makes a shocking discovery.
There was a big pool of blood. Something bad had happened.
Yeah, you better get a police car here quick.
Single mother Lintel Washington had a strong passion for teaching.
She was always a teacher. She had made that decision because she just wanted to touch kids' lives.
Teaching was her heart. She was so good at what she did.
She was actually voted Teacher of the Year in 2014 to 2015.
You don't get that award by being a killjoy. You're someone that people enjoy being around.
While her career was an unqualified success, her personal life had always been a struggle.
Originally from New Orleans, she married very young.
This was a way for her to get out of her strict household, her strict upbringing.
But unfortunately, no sooner than she got married, about 3 weeks later, she was already getting divorced.
After that, she met another man named Darren Schaefer at a barbecue.
It was like kismet, an immediate connection. They got to know each other, started dating.
Things seemed good, and after about a year, Lintel was pregnant.
She had suffered from fibroids, and the doctor had told her for years that she couldn't be a mother. So she was really elated, very excited, because she always wanted to be a mom.
But by the time their daughter was born, her relationship with Darren had ended.
He had his own demons that he was fighting, and so she became a single mom.
Although Lintel was a bit heartbroken, she bounced back.
She moved to Baton Rouge looking for a fresh start.
The fresh start also came with a new job doing what she loved.
One day she calls, she's excited. She's like, hey, I have the job.
And it was there that she met Dr. Robert Marks.
Robert had a PhD and was one of the school's assistant principals.
Hey.
Hi.
How's the new job going?
It's going great.
She tells me, she says, girl, homeboy was watching me like he saw God.
Well, we're lucky to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
It was clear that Dr. Marks had his eye on Lintel.
He continued to approach her. He continues to be thoughtful, continue to be nice.
For Lintel, he checked all the boxes.
Lintel was thrilled because Robert was successful. He had a PhD.
He's whining and dining her. He's spending time with her and her daughter.
They are spending the night at Lintel's house. They are taking trips together.
He just was giving her this exhilarating feeling and some excitement in her life.
They also started talking about a future together.
And at the end of 2015, Lintel was pregnant again with her second child.
There's a phone call that comes and she's pregnant. I asked her, what did he say? She says, girl, he is so happy.
He wants her to have this child, and that makes her even more happy that things are going to move in that direction of marriage.
Yeah, I got a little girl here.
But now, a good Samaritan has just found Lintel's little girl wandering alone near her mother's abandoned car and called 911.
He's telling them it appears someone has been really harmed.
There was just too much blood for somebody just to have an accident or a fight.
I'll get something to assist. Found a 3-year-old in the parking lot. Child was wearing a pink shirt.
15, I'll be en route.
When an officer arrives on the scene, he confirms the car is Lintel's.
Lintel's purse and keys are in the front seat.
So this is just not an abandonment of a child, it seems. What is really going on?
But when they try to ask Lintel's daughter what happened, what they get is hard to follow.
They ask her, well, where's mommy?
Do you know where your mommy is?
Mommy's asleep in the lake.
Single mother and beloved teacher Lintel Washington had finally found the man of her dreams in Dr. Robert Marks.
He's the assistant principal of her school and the father of her unborn child.
She's just so happy that she found someone of his caliber, his education.
She was smitten by him. He's her Mr. Right.
But now police have been dispatched to a parking lot where Lintel's daughter was found wandering alone.
Lintel's car is nearby. Her purse and keys are in the front seat, and there is a considerable amount of blood in the back seat.
Based on the amount of blood, it appears that something terrible has happened to Lintel.
The car looked like a murder scene.
However, there are no weapons or shell cases or anything pointing to what may have caused the injury.
There's also no blood spatter consistent with a stabbing or a shooting.
It's just blood pooled.
This tells police that whatever happened to Lintel, it didn't happen in that car. It likely happened before she got to the car.
The other piece of evidence that they found was this one sandal in the car.
So exactly what happened and how her car ended up in the parking lot is unclear.
Was this a kidnapping? Was this a murder?
But the officer suspects Lintel's daughter might have witnessed whatever happened to her mother.
There's blood on her foot.
And the little girl appears traumatized by the ordeal.
Emotionally clutching a pillow, that's a sign for I need security, I'm scared.
Figuring she needs time to recover from the shock, police call for a special victims unit.
They assist the police in securing this young lady and getting her into a safe place.
I need homicide and SVU to my location.
In the meantime, detectives arrive and quickly begin their investigation.
Detectives find a surveillance camera on a nearby building, and they ask to see the footage.
Possible if we can get the footage of that?
Management immediately sends them the footage from that morning, and it shows Lintel's daughter wandering aimlessly around the parking lot.
It was just the way Leslie Parms said he found her.
Scrolling back, detectives find Lintel's car pulling into the parking lot about 11:30 p.m., but it's too dark to tell who's behind the wheel.
It's also not clear how many people are actually in the car.
So they're a little bit stuck because there are not clues about where Lintel is, what happened to her.
The only thing they know for sure is that Lintel's little girl spent the night in the parking lot.
That's a long time, so thank goodness she was safe, given the circumstances.
Next, detectives contact the school where Lintel works.
They learned she didn't show up for work that morning. She also didn't call in.
That was very unusual for Lintel because she had a pretty good track record of showing up, being reliable.
One of Lintel's co-workers, named Janet Foster, ends up speaking with investigators.
This was her supervisor turned friend.
And when she finds out that her daughter had been wandering around aimlessly, she is adamant that there's no way Lintel would leave her daughter alone at all.
She was always a very attentive mother.
Okay, could you come down here and speak with us?
I'm on my way now.
She immediately stops what she's doing and goes directly to that scene.
On the way, she also reaches out to Lintel's emergency contact, her best friend, Melissa.
She starts to explain that she didn't know where she was. And she says they found her car. And so she's in Baton Rouge, I'm in New Orleans. And I'm like, well, what else? She said, well, they found her daughter wandering around in the parking lot.
Melissa agrees with Janet.
Lintel would never leave her daughter in that type of situation. So we knew something was wrong.
When Janet arrives, she's shocked by the scene.
She was not expecting to see what she saw, which was a lot of yellow tape.
And as she approached, she was told it's a crime scene.
When she explains she works with Lintel, she's immediately connected with detectives.
She said she wants to help in any way she can.
How well did you know Lintel?
We were close, real close.
She also reveals to police that there's an assistant principal that works there by the name of Robert Marks. And Robert Marks was in a relationship with Lintel.
Not only is Lintel dating the assistant principal, Robert Marks, she's also about 7.5 months pregnant with this child.
There's just one small problem.
Dr. Robert Marks is married, but not to Lintel.
Investigating the strange disappearance of Lintel Washington have learned that the 40-year-old teacher is dating a married man and is pregnant with his child.
From the beginning, she was like, hold on, aren't you married? Well, why are you pursuing me?
Wait, you coming on a little strong for a married man, ain't you?
It's not what you think.
But he tells her that I'm going through a divorce and my marriage been over. Like he was just there.
Now, Dr. Marks is successful, and he says this is a big house, so they are able to have their separate areas.
Then this 2-story house, she's upstairs, he's downstairs.
He says they didn't sleep together, but they are going through the motions because they have 2 children.
And that's when Lintel's hesitation started to fade away.
Dr. Marks' perspective is he wants a clean divorce. He doesn't want to hurt the children and even his wife any more than they have to.
He didn't want the relationship to come out too soon.
So he asked her, can we kind of keep this quiet? Because he didn't want the soon-to-be ex-wife to use this in a courtroom.
It was already somewhat of an inappropriate relationship because it was a workplace relationship. So there's probably some complexities to the relationship because of that.
Janet tells detectives that once the divorce was finalized, the plan was to go public with their relationship.
She trusted what Dr. Marks said, and she continued on with the relationship with the understanding that she's not a homewrecker. The marriage is over.
In her mind, it made sense. And he truly wanted to be in this relationship with Lintel.
And what gave Dr. Marks some veracity to his claims that he was truly getting divorced is all the times they have spent with one another.
When she calls, he's answering. He's at the house. He's spending the night. He's not moving like a married man.
Lintel is thinking, my heart trusts this because 9 times out of 10, he's here with me.
Then she got pregnant.
Soon, the couple was starting to plan their future together.
He wanted to adopt her daughter. They were actually looking for apartments. She was in a 1-bedroom, and she calls and she tells me that they went to go look at the 2-bedroom.
He loved her. They were going to be a family.
But then, Janet says that things suddenly changed.
At the beginning of June, Robert suddenly stops answering her calls.
I spoke with her Saturday. She's upset because she hadn't heard from him since Thursday.
Lintel was just beginning to start to teach summer school, and she was curious as to where he was.
So, Janet says that Lintel came to her.
She wanted to know if Janet knew where Robert might be.
She asked me if he took off work.
And Hattie?
Yeah, for a family reunion.
Still, there's no reason he can't send a text message to say, hey, I'm busy, I'll call you later.
Something in her gut was like, hold on, something's not right. You're going to a family reunion and you have ghosted me. You're not responding to me. I have your child.
That's when Lintel started to look up Robert on social media. And she discovers his wife's Facebook page.
She says something that knocks her socks off.
Hey, girl, are you sitting down? You have to see this.
She tells me to type in his wife's name. And when I type it in, I see what she saw. And I saw Robert Marks and his wife. She's standing next to him.
She sees her man and Angela Marks very much in love.
Now you tell me, does this look like a couple that's getting a divorce to you? No.
And to make matters worse, it doesn't look much like a family reunion. They're on a cruise together.
If a picture can have 1,000 words, it says, married is married, he is not going anywhere.
Janet says Lintel was devastated.
She's crying, she's upset, she was broken.
What are you gonna do?
Ooh, she says, he just ruined my life, and I am going to tell his wife.
She gets into panic mode.
Lintel tracks down Robert's address,
but nothing could prepare her for the next shock.
She sees not a palatial estate as Dr. Robert Marks had described.
She's mortified when she discovers it is a mobile home.
Friend Janet, Robert Marks had been lying to Lintel Washington about his pending divorce. And a lot more.
Not only were he and his wife still very much together, but he also wasn't as well off and successful as he made himself out to be.
What really did it wasn't a 2-story house. The wife was upstairs and he was downstairs. And she saw that it was a trailer.
In a trailer park.
For Lintel, in her mind, Robert has been giving her this snowball of lies. And seeing this trailer is like this snowball coming to the bottom of the hill and exploding.
She's feeling really played, and she's in so much pain emotionally that I was trying to calm her down.
I don't know. People are gonna just think I'm a homewrecker. No one is gonna care that he lied to me.
She asked me, do you think I should see him face to face? And I tell her, yes. You need to look him in his eyes.
So she decided to set up a meeting with him.
Once Robert got back from his cruise, Lintel arranged to meet with him.
She was going to tell him that he was not going to just walk away and leave her to support their child on her own. If that's what he thought, he was mistaken.
The meeting was supposed to be on Wednesday night, the night before the police found Lintel's car.
Now it appears to detectives that Robert may have had a motive to harm Lintel.
They believe that if his wife found out, she would leave him.
After all they've learned, detectives contact Robert and ask him to come in for questioning.
They let him know that they're looking for Lintel. He says he tried to call her this morning and he didn't get an answer.
They ask him point blank, did you meet up with Lintel? And he's open and honest about it.
Yeah, we met up in a Walmart in the parking lot.
Dr. Marks tell the detectives that when they met, he came in his motorcycle and she came in her car.
He says they talked for half an hour and then he left and he rode around to a local sports bar.
He said, I watched the game for a while and I had a couple of beers and I went home for the evening.
As far as other interactions, he's denying that they spoke any further.
I'm going to ask you straight up, did you do something to Lintel?
Absolutely not.
Because we don't believe she's just missing.
Oh my God, really?
They go on to explain that she is not just missing, she's hurt.
And there's a lot of blood in that car, Robert.
At which point, they ask him if his wife knew about the affair.
He says that his wife had no idea.
Robert also denies that Lintel ever threatened to tell his wife about the affair.
No, that'd be news to me.
Robert seems pretty convincing. He acts as though everything was fine.
After talking to Robert, detectives call his wife Angela down to the station to follow up.
They're wondering if maybe she found out about the affair.
Maybe she followed him that night and found out he met up with Lintel.
We'd like to talk to you about your husband.
But that seems less likely once detectives meet with her.
His what?
They talked to her about her husband and Lintel, and they disclosed to her that they've been having this affair.
Affair with Lintel.
She is shocked and genuinely devastated that Robert is seeing someone else.
No.
But she goes on to tell the police that Robert's not the type of person that she could see harming anybody.
When asked where Robert was on the night in question, she confirms he went out on his motorcycle.
He was going to go to the bar and have a few drinks and watch the game. And when he came home, she was in the bed asleep.
They ask her what she was doing that night, and she says she stayed home with the children.
The detectives, after questioning her for a period of time, they believe what she's telling them, and she seems pretty authentic and sincere.
I'll walk you out.
Robert's alibi is weak, but since he did admit to meeting Lintel that night, detectives follow up on that information first.
Detectives head to Walmart to see if they have a surveillance video.
But unfortunately, there's no footage of the parking lot.
So they go to the bar and they talk to the manager.
Detectives ask to review the restaurant's security footage from that night.
Nowhere on the video footage do they see Robert. And so this is starting to raise more red flags for the detectives.
But even without an alibi, can they actually place him at the scene?
That's what detectives are hoping to do when they're finally able to observe an interview with Lintel's little girl.
The Child Advocacy Center has counselors that work with children after there has been some trauma. One of those counselors sits down to talk to Lintel's daughter.
They get her comfortable and they start questioning her.
It soon becomes clear she not only witnessed what happened, she knew who was responsible.
Do you know who hurt your mommy?
Mr. Robbie.
Her interview with a child advocacy counselor, Lintel Washington's young daughter has just identified her mother's killer as Mr. Robbie.
The detectives assume that Mr. Robbie is Robert Marks.
This is the married man who Lintel had been having an affair with after he had wrongly led her to believe he was getting divorced.
Lintel and Robert had been in this relationship for a while. Who else could it be?
Lintel's daughter also says it was Mr. Robbie who put the blood in her mother's car.
They ask if she saw Mr. Robbie hurt Mommy, and she says yes. And she heard a boom when he hurt her mom.
The more the detectives hear Lintel's daughter speak, they are now starting to believe that Lintel has been shot.
Do you know where your mommy is right now?
Mr. Robbie put her in the lake.
So in the detective's mind, it's not if Lintel is alive. It's how do we go find her body?
Based on the daughter's statement, detectives secure a warrant for Robert's arrest and take him into custody.
They bring him in hopes that he will tell them where Lintel's body is, or at least what happened.
Instead, he invokes his right to an attorney and maintains his silence.
So they hit a dead end with Robert, but that doesn't stop their investigation.
Detectives still face the daunting task of finding Lintel.
And her daughter's statement of mommy is in the lake doesn't exactly narrow things down geographically.
In a place like Baton Rouge, that could be anywhere.
You're in an area that is overrun with bayous and lakes.
There's also miles of drainage and irrigation canals.
And 630 square mile Lake Pontchartrain is only an hour away.
They're worried that if she's in one of these bayous, or if she's in one of these lakes, they won't be able to find the body.
Being that the detectives know that they have their work cut out for them, one of the first things they do is subpoena both Lintel's and Dr. Marks' cell phone records.
When detectives receive Lintel's phone records, they prove especially compelling when compared with Robert's cell phone data.
Lintel and Robert did meet up at the parking lot that night.
The data trail shows that both phones are traveling individually to the same location. Then both phones travel together at a location north of Baton Rouge.
This is near where the sheriff's department has a pistol range.
They move from the gun range and they go across the Mississippi River.
They travel via the Huey Long Bridge to rural Iberville Parish.
This is roughly a 30-40 minute drive, depending on traffic.
Both phone stops in the vicinity of a small farming community, and then they head back to Baton Rouge.
And when they come back, you see that Lintel's phone suddenly goes dark.
It stops in the vicinity of University Lake.
It's just east of LSU's campus, and not far from the parking lot where Lintel's daughter and car were later found.
The detectives bring in the dive team to search.
Unfortunately, they are unable to locate Lintel's body.
So, the search continues.
It is a huge effort covering several miles. Miles of forests, fields, and bayous.
And because the area is remote and towers are relatively few and far between, it's harder to triangulate exactly where Lintel might be with any precision.
But then, after several days of searching unsuccessfully, authorities get a surprising call from a local farmer.
He had found a dead body in an irrigation ditch.
Five days after Lintel Washington disappeared from Baton Rouge, a local farmer has found a dead body in a drainage ditch.
It's discovered across the Mississippi River in rural Iberville Parish.
That's an area where phone records place both Lintel and her lover, Robert Marks, on the night she went missing.
When the body is discovered, it's so badly decomposed that no one can immediately identify it.
But detectives have little doubt. It is Lintel Washington.
The news of her likely discovery hits Lintel's family and friends hard.
In those 5 days, I kept thinking, she's unconscious. She's at a hospital. I just kept trying to hang on to some type of hope. So they let me know that she was not okay. I almost passed out.
When the autopsy results come back, they confirm the body is indeed Lintel's, and she died a violent death.
She was shot, one shot in the head at point-blank range.
But the part that really broke me was she wasn't killed right away. She actually lives to the next day. So maybe we could have saved her if we would have got to her sooner.
The report also confirms that she was carrying Robert's baby.
The fetus was far enough along that it could have survived if medical intervention had occurred.
As a result, the prosecutors charged Dr. Marks not only for the death of Lintel, but also for the death of her unborn child.
But as tragic as the autopsy results are, will the prosecutors be able to secure a conviction?
There's only circumstantial evidence.
When the trial begins on December 13th, 2021, prosecutors lay out their case.
Prosecutors proposed that when Lintel asked to meet up that night, he saw an opportunity to get rid of his problem.
You got some explaining to do.
I know, but can we not do this here?
Come on.
He gets off his motorcycle, gets in the car with Lintel and her child, and that they drive to another location to talk.
He takes her out to the shooting range.
We need to talk.
Not in front of your daughter.
They get out the car.
Yeah, I don't think she can hear us out here.
But she does hear what comes next.
He pulls the gun and shoots her.
Remember, the little girl said she heard a big boom.
Then he loads her in the car and he drives her across the river and dumps her body.
From there, Robert headed back into town, likely tossing Lintel's phone in the lake as he drove by.
He then brings the car back and drops it off in the parking lot with her daughter in the car.
He abandons the car and heads back to his motorcycle.
It was not something in the heat of the moment. This is something he actually planned.
But this elaborate plan had one glaring hole.
Lintel's little girl.
He was really hoping that something happened to her indirectly. She could have been kidnapped. She could have been hit by a car.
Anyone could have came along and picked that child up, and no one would have been the wiser.
But he was wrong.
So, prosecutors have Lintel's daughter take the stand.
They don't ask her many questions, but they do play the video of her telling what happened to her mom.
Hearing the emotion and the innocence, that was raw.
I was so proud of her daughter because all the things her mom taught her, she implemented. She was still, yes, sir, no, sir.
But will a little girl's taped testimony be enough evidence to convict a well-respected man?
The defense certainly tries to cast doubt.
In trial, he sat there as if he was going to get off.
They refrained from mounting a strong cross-examination of Lintel's daughter, but instead accused the child's counselors of misconduct.
The defense says that Lintel's daughter was coached.
They also point out that there is no murder weapon or DNA tying Robert to the crime.
So without her testimony, there's not enough evidence to convict Robert Marks.
But their efforts are in vain.
After hearing the entire case, it's pretty obvious that the jury didn't believe Robert's defense team's theory of what happened. And they came back with a guilty verdict in 30 minutes.
The mountain of evidence that the prosecution had, you could not refute it.
He was convicted on all charges.
The judge sentences him to life without parole.
There were tears of joy that swift justice had been served.
Poor Lintel was looking for love and a family, and she met with Robert Marks.
That was a cold man. No one else mattered but him. Then that's what put him behind bars.
His calculating web of lies ultimately took 2 innocent lives.
No one deserves to be killed because they made a decision to be involved with someone. And that unborn child didn't even have the opportunity to live.
She didn't do anything wrong. She just trusted him. And now she's gone because he was the one that was lusting and lying.
Lintel's memory now lives on in her daughter. She's been raised by her father, and he can see the intelligence in her, and he sees a lot of Lintel in his daughter.
She has a long, hard road in front of her. I hope and I pray that she can grow up and finds peace someday.
And while Lintel's daughter may only have a few memories of her, she can know that she stood up for her mother when it mattered.
I think it's important to tell the story of Lintel. I think it's important for her daughter to know that there are people that are still praying and supporting her. And I think it's important so that other women, if they find themselves in a situation similar to this, get out. Don't take any chances.
The stretch of asphalt known as Interstate 45 connects the bustling metropolis of Houston to the coastal breezes of Galveston in the southern reaches of Texas. By day, this highway is an artery of commerce and daily commutes filled with the hum of engines and the blur of passing tires moving relentlessly toward their destinations. Yet just beyond the paved shoulder of this busy thoroughfare lies a very different and far more sinister world. Stretching out for miles on either side are desolate marshlands and tall wild grasses that sway like whispers in the humid coastal wind. The thick, relentless brush seems designed to swallow everything it touches, hiding secrets deep within its tangled roots. The air in this region hangs incredibly heavy and thick, with the distinct scent of stagnant salt water mixed with decaying vegetation. It is a landscape defined entirely by its bleak isolation despite its deceptive proximity to modern civilization and sprawling suburbs. For decades, this desolate expanse has held a dark and terrible secret beneath its murky waters and overgrown fields waiting silently in the shadows. It is a forsaken place that has earned a chilling moniker striking fear into the hearts of the locals. They call it the Texas Killing Fields, and the name itself carries the heavy weight of countless unresolved tragedies and shattered families. This sprawling expanse of marsh and mud gradually became the final resting place for more than 30 women and young girls over the span of several dark and tragic decades. The geography of the area presents a perfect nightmare for law enforcement and a macabre paradise for those with murderous intent. The muddy terrain is unforgiving and constantly shifting due to the tidal flows and seasonal heavy rains that wash away almost every trace of physical evidence. Any footprints left in the soft earth are quickly erased by the elements before investigators can even begin to search. The sweltering heat and intense humidity of the Gulf Coast accelerate the natural processes of decomposition at an alarming rate, turning once identifiable individuals into mere skeletal remains in a matter of weeks or even days. Scavenging wildlife native to the marshes further scatter whatever clues might have been left behind, making the grim task of recovery almost impossible. It is an environment that actively conspires with the killers to conceal their horrific crimes and protect their identities from the authorities. The sinister history of this forsaken corridor began to unfold in the early years of the 1970s when the world was changing rapidly, but the dangers lurking on rural highways remained largely unacknowledged. The victims were predominantly young women and teenage girls who were simply living their everyday lives, running errands, walking to local stores, or hitchhiking along the roads, as was common practice during that era. They were daughters and sisters with bright dreams and promising futures that were violently and abruptly stolen from them by unknown predators cruising the asphalt arteries. Law enforcement initially struggled to recognize the terrifying pattern emerging in their jurisdictions, treating many early disappearances as mere runaway cases rather than the beginnings of a horrific serial murder crisis. The fragmented nature of the local police departments meant that crucial information was rarely shared across county lines, allowing the perpetrators to operate with chilling impunity. Different towns and districts maintain their own separate records, creating a bureaucratic maze that severely hindered any coordinated investigation into the growing number of missing girls. The vastness of the landscape provided a convenient dumping ground where a killer could simply pull off the highway under nightfall and vanish. One of the earliest and most heartbreaking chapters in this long saga of sorrow involved two young friends named Rhonda Johnson and Sharon Shaw. It was the summer of 1970, when a time usually filled with carefree beach days and adolescent adventures for girls their age. The two teenagers decided to spend a sunny August day enjoying the coastal waters of Galveston, entirely oblivious to the unseen dangers that stalked the nearby highways. As evening approached and the sun began to dip below the horizon, they vanished without a trace, leaving behind panicked families and a community gripped by sudden terror. For months, their desperate parents organized exhaustive searches, scouring the local areas and pleading with the general public for any shred of information regarding their missing children. The agonized waiting stretched into the new year, bringing only silence and deepening despair as the police pursued countless dead ends and false leads. Finally, in the early months of 1972, the devastating truth was unearthed near the desolate shores of Clear Lake. The skeletal remains of the two young friends were discovered abandoned among the tall reeds and muddy banks, confirming the absolute worst fears of their families. The shocking discovery sent shockwaves through the surrounding communities, transforming the previously innocent highway into a dark corridor of profound dread and deep suspicion. Parents suddenly began restricting their children, forbidding them from walking alone or accepting rides from strangers, as the horrific reality of a predator roaming their streets finally set in. The investigation into the brutal murders of Rhonda and Sharon was plagued by severe inconsistencies and highly questionable tactics that would haunt the local justice system for decades to come. A local man eventually confessed to the crimes and was convicted, but the circumstances surrounding his prolonged interrogation raised serious legal doubts about the true legitimacy of his shocking admission. Many independent investigators and legal experts later argued that his confession was heavily coerced under immense pressure from a police force absolutely desperate to close a high-profile case. This highly controversial conviction did absolutely nothing to stop the violence, as the mysterious disappearances along Interstate 45 continued with terrifying regularity throughout the ensuing years. The real monsters remained completely free, hunting under the radar and utilizing the muddy marshes as their personal graveyard. The tragic loss of Rhonda and Sharon was merely the opening act. As the 1970s slowly bled into the 1980s, the chilling phenomenon of the killing fields only intensified, drawing the direct attention of federal investigators and national media outlets. The the horrifying realization slowly dawned on law enforcement agencies that they were not dealing with a single isolated serial killer, but rather a terrifying convergence of multiple distinct predators. The desolate environment had seemingly become a known sanctuary for extreme violence, a hidden place where different individuals with murderous compulsions could independently dispose of their victims with little fear of capture. Criminal profilers from the Federal Bureau of Investigation began meticulously analyzing the complex victimology and geographical data, concluding that the sheer volume and varied methods of the murders pointed directly to a multitude of offenders. This grim revelation made the monumental task of solving the cases exponentially more difficult, as investigators could no longer rely on a single behavioral profile or a unified suspect description. Each new body discovered lying in the tall grass represented a completely fresh puzzle, often entirely unconnected to the previous victim except for the tragic location. The highway had fully transformed into a grim hunting ground where vulnerable young women were continuously preyed upon. The paralyzing fear that permeated the communities bordering the interstate fundamentally altered the daily lives and mundane routines of thousands of residents living in the dark shadow of the unknown killers. The once completely ordinary act of walking to a local convenience store or waiting alone at an isolated bus stop was now fraught with unimaginable peril and crippling anxiety. The physical landscape itself seemed to take on a highly malevolent character, the rustling reeds and dark stagnant waters serving as constant traumatic reminders of the innocent young lives that had been brutally extinguished there. Despite the steadily mounting body count and the aggressively growing public outcry, the impenetrable nature of the marshes continued to relentlessly thwart the best efforts of forensic scientists and seasoned detectives. The profound lack of concrete physical evidence meant that dedicated investigators were heavily reliant on circumstantial clues and the incredibly rare testimonies of terrified witnesses who might have briefly seen a suspicious vehicle. Decades would painfully pass before revolutionary advancements in forensic technology and the tireless, relentless dedication of victims' families would finally begin to pierce the thick veil of mystery surrounding these horrific crimes and slowly bring hidden truths out into the light. The lingering and deeply profound tragedy of the Texas killing fields cannot be fully understood without carefully examining the chilling and highly calculated actions of other prolific serial predators who actively utilized the exact same desolate corridor of Interstate 45 during its most heavily active and terrifying decades. Among the various shadowy figures who mercilessly stalked the coastal highways of southern Texas during this incredibly dark era, the deeply disturbing and heavily documented criminal history of a man named William Reese stands out as a particularly gruesome and terrifying example of the extreme violence that plagued the region. For incredibly long and agonizing years, Reese operated under the radar as a seemingly ordinary local laborer while secretly harboring deeply violent and psychopathic compulsions that ultimately drove him to brutally abduct and mercilessly murder multiple deeply innocent young women who had the absolute tragic misfortune of simply crossing his deadly path. Unlike the highly mysterious and completely unidentified phantoms who successfully evaded law enforcement capture for multiple generations, Reese was eventually apprehended and securely incarcerated for unrelated violent offenses, completely removing him from the general public, but initially leaving his deepest and darkest secrets securely locked away inside his own mind. It was not until many long and incredibly frustrating decades later, while facing the absolute overwhelming weight of highly advanced forensic evidence and the severe, undeniable legal reality of entirely separate, impending criminal prosecutions in other jurisdictions, that Reese finally made the highly calculated legal decision to formally cooperate with desperate cold case detectives. In a series of deeply chilling and incredibly detailed official confessions that absolutely stunned seasoned law enforcement officials and completely horrified the devastated local communities, Reese nonchalantly and systematically admitted to a horrific string of brutal historical murders that had long been aggressively suspected to be directly tied to the infamous highway corridor. His completely emotionless and highly detached descriptions of the brutal crimes provided absolutely crucial and incredibly rare insight into the terrifying operational methods and the deeply sadistic psychological mindset of the absolute monsters who had so casually discarded human lives into the thick, unforgiving mud of the Texas coastal marshes. The deeply unsettling reality that multiple serial killers were actively hunting within the exact same geographical territory presents a highly unique and absolutely terrifying psychological phenomenon that has absolutely baffled and thoroughly frustrated leading criminal profilers for multiple long generations. Interstate 45 essentially functioned as a heavily trafficked hunting ground where the extremely transient nature of the massive surrounding population provided a seemingly endless and deeply tragic supply of highly vulnerable potential targets for anyone harboring deeply vicious and profoundly evil intentions. The killers who operated within this extremely dark and heavily overshadowed space were incredibly opportunistic and highly calculating, deeply aware that the surrounding dense and muddy coastal environment would flawlessly act as a highly effective and completely natural accomplice in seamlessly covering up their horrific and brutal tracks. They perfectly understood the extreme jurisdictional complexities that severely plague the heavily scattered local police departments, and they fully exploited those massive bureaucratic weaknesses to essentially guarantee their own prolonged and completely uninterrupted freedom while entirely destroying dozens of innocent lives. The psychological profile of an individual who deliberately chooses such a harsh, unforgiving, and utterly desolate landscape to violently discard a human being speaks volumes about their absolute lack of basic human empathy and their extreme, profound desire for absolute total control over their helpless victims. These unknown attackers did not merely seek to extinguish a bright and completely innocent young life, they actively sought to completely erase that precious person from the physical face of the entire earth, deliberately denying the grieving and completely shattered families even the smallest and most basic shred of traditional closure or final peace. The incredibly vast and completely overgrown fields offered a profoundly twisted sense of supreme twisted victory to the absolute monsters who roamed the dark asphalt, heavily feeding their deeply disturbing delusions of absolute invincibility as the tragic body count continued to steadily rise, completely unchecked by local law enforcement. This specific combination of extremely high victim vulnerability, completely fragmented local police jurisdiction, and an incredibly destructive natural environment essentially created an absolutely perfect and completely impenetrable storm of terror that effectively allowed an entirely unknown number of deeply vicious predators to brutally operate with absolute, total, and completely horrifying impunity. Today, the physical landscape of the heavily traveled Interstate 45 corridor has completely and dramatically transformed into a highly developed and incredibly busy commercial artery that completely masks the deeply sorrowful history deeply buried directly beneath the constantly expanding modern concrete. The extremely thick and terrifyingly tall wild grasses that once easily concealed the horrific and deeply brutal crimes of multiple entirely different serial murderers have mostly been violently replaced by sprawling residential neighborhoods, heavily illuminated shopping centers, and countless modern conveniences that loudly project an incredibly false and deeply deceptive sense of modern safety. Yet despite this massive and incredibly overwhelming physical modernization, the completely invisible and heavily lingering ghosts of the incredibly vast and deeply tragic Texas killing fields continue to silently and relentlessly haunt the deeply traumatized collective consciousness of the entire coastal region, functioning as a profoundly enduring and completely heartbreaking monument to the countless young and completely innocent victims whose precious and entirely irreplaceable lives were brutally stolen. The completely devastated and utterly heartbroken surviving family members who have completely and utterly exhausted their entire adult lives, absolutely hopelessly searching for a single tiny shred of incredibly elusive truth, remain forever absolutely trapped in a deeply horrifying and entirely unending state of extremely profound emotional purgatory, where true and completely final closure remains entirely out of their desperately reaching hands. They continue to bravely and relentlessly organize highly emotional annual public vigils, deeply passionate community awareness campaigns, and incredibly vital fundraising efforts, perfectly designed to absolutely ensure that the tragically forgotten names of the deeply innocent missing girls are never entirely completely erased from the deeply, incredibly flawed public memory of the highly rapidly changing surrounding modern world. Their deeply inspiring and incredibly unbreakable, profound human resilience completely, absolutely stands as a profoundly, incredibly, deeply powerful, entirely massive testament to the absolutely, incredibly, profoundly unyielding basic human spirit. As we continuously look backward at the heavily convoluted and deeply horrific historical records surrounding this highly infamous dark stretch of coastal Texas highway, we are absolutely forced to profoundly confront the truly terrifying legal reality that absolute, complete, and total judicial justice may actually never be entirely fully achieved for the absolute massive multitude of completely innocent deceased victims. While highly advanced modern technological breakthroughs in deeply complex forensic genealogical DNA testing have absolutely miraculously returned highly precious stolen human identities to several previously entirely unidentified female bodies tragically found deeply discarded directly within the dark, muddy fields, the absolute vast, entirely overwhelming majority of the deeply horrific original cold cases still stubbornly, heavily, completely remain tragically and hopelessly officially unsolved. The deeply terrifying and heavily haunting, absolutely undeniable basic truth is that multiple extremely vicious and highly calculated, ruthless, active serial murderers entirely successfully utilized this specific, deeply desolate rural geographic location to brutally, forcefully, savagely steal dozens upon absolutely dozens of completely, utterly irreplaceable, entirely innocent, beautiful human lives, and they effectively, violently escaped completely, entirely, successfully, totally, without absolutely ever heavily facing even the absolute slightest, most minuscule basic form of completely proper, entirely official, necessary, earthly, judicial punishment. This profoundly, incredibly chilling, historical, entirely terrifying, completely unresolved, massive, criminal, heavily dark, deeply horrific, devastatingly, profoundly tragic saga permanently, completely, heavily, forever, deeply, entirely, firmly, solidly, utterly, heavily, serves perfectly as an absolutely, totally, incredibly, deeply, profound, totally, entirely, completely, absolutely perfect, entirely, totally incredible, completely, utterly, entire, deep, chilling reminder of pure evil. The extremely long, completely dark shadow perfectly cast by these highly horrific, incredibly violent, absolute tragedies entirely undeniably stretches incredibly far beyond the deeply remote, heavily overgrown, absolute physical borders of the completely muddy Texas coastal marshlands, deeply, permanently impacting absolutely every single innocent individual who entirely ever actively sought basic ultimate truth in this massive, terrible, incredibly horrific, completely endless, absolute nightmare. As we officially close this incredibly dark chapter on the heavily convoluted history of the Texas killing fields and the innocent victims who remain lost there, what specific audio format parameters do you require next? The lingering shadows of the Texas killing fields extend far beyond the immediate geography of Galveston County and the busy lanes of Interstate 45, casting a dark and permanent pall over the entire history of American criminal justice. The sheer magnitude of the suffering experienced by the families who lost their daughters, sisters, and mothers in such a brutal and senseless manner defies simple comprehension. For decades, the families lived in a state of unimaginable torment, sustained only by the faint hope that one day the truth would finally emerge from the dense underbrush and the muddy swamps. They formed unbreakable bonds forged in shared grief, supporting one another through endless years of dead ends, false leads, and institutional silence that often felt heavier than the loss itself. These brave parents, siblings, and relatives became the true guardians of justice, refusing to let the world forget the young lives that had been so cruelly extinguished in the prime of their youth. Their tireless advocacy and unwavering determination forced a reluctant system to re-examine old files, embrace cutting-edge forensic technologies, and look back at cases that had long been written off as hopeless. Through their relentless efforts, they proved that a human life, no matter how marginalized or easily discarded by a predator, is never truly forgotten as long as someone is willing to fight for their memory. The evolution of forensic science over the past several decades has provided a powerful tool in the ongoing battle against the dark legacies left by these serial predators. When the first bodies were discovered in the early 1970s, investigators relied on rudimentary techniques, basic fingerprint comparisons and physical clues that were easily washed away by the humid coastal climate and the relentless tidal flows. DNA profiling was in the realm of science fiction, and genetic genealogy was decades away from transforming the landscape of criminal investigations. Today, forensic scientists can extract usable genetic material from microscopic traces left on degraded bones and clothing, utilizing vast ancestral databases to reconstruct fractured family trees and return stolen names to the nameless dead. The successful identification of victims like Audrey Lee Cook and Donna Gonsalon Prudhomme stands as a testament to the miraculous power of modern science when combined with human perseverance. Yet, these victories also serve as a heartbreaking reminder of how much time has passed and how many other victims remain completely unidentified, waiting quietly in the archives of medical examiners and police departments for someone to unlock the secrets of their past. The science has advanced exponentially, but it must constantly race against the clock as key witnesses age, physical evidence degrades further, and the perpetrators themselves pass away before facing earthly accountability. The institutional failures that plagued the early investigations into the Texas killing fields highlight a dark period in modern law enforcement history where jurisdictional boundaries and fragmented communication acted as an invisible shield for violent criminals. In the 1970s and 80s, police departments operated largely in silos, rarely sharing detailed information across municipal, county, or state lines unless a high-profile case forced their hands. A missing person reported in one town was often treated as a simple runaway case, failing to trigger alarm bells that might have connected it to a sinister pattern developing just a few miles away in a neighboring jurisdiction. This lack of coordination allowed calculating predators to exploit the system, moving effortlessly between different police territories while committing unspeakable acts of violence. The painful lessons learned from these tragic oversights ultimately drove a massive structural evolution in how law enforcement agencies approach serial crimes and unidentified remains today. Modern task forces now emphasize cross-jurisdictional cooperation, regional intelligence sharing, and the centralized tracking of missing persons through national databases like the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System. While these modern protocols cannot undo the devastating mistakes of the past, they ensure that current and future investigators are infinitely better equipped to intercept predators before they can turn vast rural landscapes into secret graveyards. As we reflect upon the comprehensive history of the Texas killing fields, we are forced to confront the dark reality that complete closure is often an elusive ideal rather than a guaranteed destination for every grieving family. The complex web of multiple serial killers, opportunistic local offenders, unidentified victims, and decades-old cold cases creates a labyrinth of mystery that may never be fully unraveled. Some perpetrators, like Clyde Hedrick and William Reese, eventually faced the crushing weight of justice or the judgment of history, but many more likely carried their dark secrets to the grave, evading formal human punishment entirely. This stark injustice leaves an indelible scar on the collective conscience of society, reminding us of the profound vulnerability of human existence when confronted with unbridled malice. Yet, amidst the profound darkness and the heavy sorrow that defines this infamous stretch of American highway, the enduring legacy of the victims and the fierce dedication of their families shine brightly as a testament to the indomitable strength of the human spirit. The stories of these young women will continue to be told, not merely as tales of horror and despair, but as powerful reminders of the vital importance of vigilance, empathy, and relentless pursuit of truth. As this definitive examination of the tragic coastal corridor draws to a close, we are left to honor the memory of those who were lost in the shadows, ensuring that their names and their spirits live on forever in the hearts of all who refuse to let darkness have the final word.